nothing's definite, but I'm sure you know as well as anybody that the likelihood that Joe runs again in 24 is dwindling by the day. They are already making sure that Pete is getting all the leverage he needs. And when somebody asks, well, how do you know it's going to be Pete? Look at how much money's been earmarked for transportation that is basically at his disposal amongst this infrastructure.
He's the
bill.
Understudy. He's back in the wings. They're getting him ready to go out. Manchurian Pete. And, they just got again, but they have nothing. They have nothing.
So then the question becomes, is there going to be, especially if there is going to be this sort of, street fight, if you will, between, Pete and Kamala for the establishment's, support network, is there going to be an opening for, some progressive to step up? Because I just think that millions upon millions of people on both sides they're getting a little too hip to the game now, and they're not buying it anymore. So they know that there's got to be another path.
Jesse Ventura would be
great
to
jump in. Jesse Ventura would be amazing.
I'm sitting here thinking, who could jump in between Pete and Kamala and really look like?
We both agreed that if the Green Party had any sense, which they have none, they would have made sure that he had a fair opportunity to be the nominee. And if he was the nominee, it's not that Jesse Ventura was going to win, but he would have become such a force that he would have forced the hands of both Biden and Trump. That's what would have happened in terms of the electoral dynamics.
So, but I just think still in Mexico.
You know what? I'm not sure, because we've been trying. We just had Oliver Stone on the podcast, and we've been trying to, figure out a way to get, to get him on. And unfortunately,
do it on location on the beach in Mexico.
Oh yeah,
that would be awesome. And I really think that it's going to take something like that. But do you believe that there will be? Because I know it's.
Will somebody come and save us from Pete and Kamala?
I think the problem for Democrats is that it's hard to think of who would run. I mean, you could actually see Elizabeth Warren. I could imagine her maybe running.
Can't with after what she did. I don't think it could happen. That's just my opinion.
She'd almost be running in that same lane.
Well, it's not even a question of her running in the same lane. I just think that, it's kind of like recognizing.
No, I mean the Buttigieg Kamala Harris lane.
Right, it is, and it's just
there's
nobody else. They have nobody.
And listen, she is a very lovely lady from everybody that I've spoken to that knows her on the Hill. But at the end of the day, she made political calculations that horrifically backfired, and she doubled down on them.
Yeah.
And so when you do that, especially with the non-corporate progressive movement, that wound is still very, very fresh.
They'll never trust her.
And it's going to be, especially at her age, you would think that if she is going to try again, it's definitely going to be in 24. I do think you make a valid point, Ryan. It's just that I don't see her being trusted by the progressive movement.
Right. I think that is more or less correct. So if Keith Ellison hadn't had his weird Me Too thing, having been elected, let's say twice statewide in a Midwestern state, might have positioned him, plus, really, handling the George Floyd trial very well. That he's been basically fully cleared of that. You can never fully clear somebody in a completely, he said, she said situation. But there was this claim that this was a weird case because there was a claim that there was going to be video, that video existed of this incident. And immediately his statement was unusual. It was that I'm 100% confident that there was no video of this incident because this incident did not happen. And so you have to be 100% sure, because if you say that and then video comes out, that's it. You're completely done. But so within politics, there are people like Joe Neguse of Colorado, who's a young up and coming kind of progressive, but not squad style. Probably nobody in the squad is, remotely ready.
The only person that we could think of that would have, that's an elected representative that would have that opportunity to really build that type of support on the progressive side would be Katie Porter. And I don't think that she wants to go that route.
No.
I never really got the impression that's something she wants to do. The person that we really believe would be the heir apparent to Bernie's movement is Nina Turner. Now, that now becomes a little bit more interesting because, she did file to run again in Cleveland for District 12, but as it stands right now, she hasn't made it official, and I almost wonder if she may be considering something like that, because if anybody can carry Bernie's message, I think she carries it better than anybody else. What do you think?
I think she's going to run again for Congress. That's my sense. And so if she wins that, then she'd, be positioned for a run. But if she loses twice, then a lot of voters who are like very electability minded are going to be like, well, if you lost a House race, like we don't want to risk losing the presidency. Jeff Merkley, who was one of the few people to endorse Bernie Sanders in 2016. He floated running in 2020 and then decided not to. He's probably as progressive, if not more so, than Bernie Sanders, even though he's so quiet about it. He kind of has an. I love Merkley. I think he's great. He kind of has an anti-charisma. And that,
okay, so that's a problem.
Unfortunately,
I would love that to not be
it's
the case.
Because he's so serious and so earnest and so genuine that it's like it's amazing that he has, with that energy, gotten to where he is.
You've probably spoken with enough people in the electorate then as we have, and it's unfortunate. And this is a much bigger problem on the Democratic side than it is on the Republican side. But the Democratic side, especially the comfortable liberals, they're obsessed with personality. They make that the hallmark of their
and
decision.
identity.
That's very important to them. And so when you would ask somebody, well, how come you don't like Bernie? I just don't like Bernie. I just don't like it.
He's a grumpy old man.
He's a grumpy old man. That's it.
Right.
It's got nothing to do with the fact that he would have been a revolutionary president. He would have, because there are so many
I just don't like him.
Yeah. I mean, just think about it. If he was the commander in chief right now, is there any doubt he would have canceled student debt? I mean, that one.
Well, there's so many things.
But that's just one in particular where you're
things.
like, that would have been so simple and would have made so much sense. And in the midst of a pandemic, you think he's not going to sign the executive order,
right? For everybody have Medicare.
It's some of these things I think are so simple, and as you know, it took Reagan 3 shots to get it. But I don't get the sense that Bernie wants to go again. I'm just not getting. I mean, listen, if he goes,
I think he would if he felt like he was healthy enough.
I don't put anything past him. I really don't, and I think that's.
I don't feel. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also the unique circumstance of knowing that we've gone through Trump. We know what that was like. We're now going through Biden, and we know what that's like. It's almost like you've gotten the smorgasbord of what, the hard conservatism, hard nationalism, and now this hardcore neoliberalism is like. Maybe trying progressivism isn't such a bad idea.
But I think to the people that are the poor people, that are the people that are the vulnerable people, I don't think they see a difference between those two. That's the problem. There is no difference. What is the difference for people? It's been getting progressively worse. And for the most part, it doesn't necessarily have to do with the exact person sitting in the White House, but they're all rubber stamping the same crap. They work for the same corporation. So it doesn't matter.
Which is why we say on the podcast all the time, it is all about whether or not you take corporate special interest money. That is the defining issue of our time. I mean, it really is. If you think about it, if you're a representative on the Hill, and we know that nobody's perfect, but you stand a much better chance of electing non-corporate representatives, regardless of affiliation, than you are with electing people like, again, if anybody questions Kyrsten Sinema, just look at how much corporate special interest money she takes or took before she was elected.
It's just
now it's on steroids because she doesn't care if she gets reelected. She just wants to make sure that the rest of her life is set up for a very comfortable existence. I mean, it is pretty transparent and like we said,
blatant.
Now we're living in an era where they're just not hiding it anymore. They're like, no, that's why I'm here. And that's that.
Right. Yeah. Right. And some of them, like Manchin, like own coal, not just stock in coal company, like own a coal company.
Right.
Like an actual.
And they're all about personality there with that. Like somebody just recently was in West Virginia and was talking to people in the place where Manchin's from, in the town that he's from. And they all basically have his cell phone. They know him. He's third generation. This is like, they don't know anything about what he does or what he stands for. They just know him. And that's it. And it's family history in that town. His
grandfather was mayor. His dad was mayor. His uncle was state treasurer.
Yeah.
got
We
impeached.
experienced the same thing with Debbie. You know, a lot of the older voters that have known her for, and she's been elected in Broward for a generation. So for them, it's like this nostalgia thing. Well, I remember when she was canvassing in her baby stroller, and it's like, yeah, that's 30 years ago. You know, we have this very we really have a hard time like letting go.
The retail politics matters.
It does. So then
It does.
but then it also begs the question, what is going to take for things to change? Because every member of leadership in the Democratic Party, Pelosi, Hoyer, Clyburn, they're all over 80 years old. Like this is at the point now where it's laughable if it wasn't so sad.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.